Washington State and Oregon State are taking legal action against the Pac-12 conference over voting rights, over the assets, i.e. the Pac-12 network. Wow, welcome to episode 306 of College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Pflugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, please subscribe to our ever-growing channel. Smash that like button if you like our content. Share the video with your family and friends. John Wilner from the Mercury News this afternoon lays it all down. The Pac-12 chaos. Washington State, Oregon State taking legal action against the conference over the control of the assets and the voting rights. We provide a link in the description. You can read the whole article. We're going to skip parts of it. We're dropping down to the second paragraph here. The only remaining members of the Pac-12 as of next summer, Washington State and Oregon State, filed a joint complaint Friday in Whitman County, Washington Superior Court that seeks to determine the makeup of the Pac-12 Board of Directors following the announced departures of the 10 schools, according to documents obtained by the hotline. The Pac-12 and Commissioner George Kliavkoff are the named defendants. Washington State's presidents Schultz and Oregon State's President Murphy are not attempting to punish any of the outgoing schools or prevent them from leaving for the ACC, the Big 12, or the Big 10. Instead, they want a declaratory judgment from the court regarding the makeup of the Pac-12's Board of Directors, which has the voting authority and control of the conference's finances. Additionally, the schools are seeking a temporary restraining order to prevent the 10 outgoing members from voting on vital issues until the makeup of the board is determined. The Cougars and Beavers are considering whether to join the Mountain West or attempt to rebuild the Pac-12. Either way, their futures depend in part on access to the potentially tens of millions of dollars in the Pac-12's assets that are controlled by the Board of Directors. The filing comes after a tense 2 weeks that began when Schultz, the chair of the Pac-12 board, declined Kliavkoff's request to call a board meeting to discuss complex issues facing the conference, according to the complaint. That led Kliavkoff to schedule the meeting himself for September 13th. He invited all 12 board members, including USC and UCLA. The Los Angeles schools have been excluded from prior Pac-12 board meetings following their June 22 decision to join the Big 10. The meeting could include a board vote on the conference governance structure and strategy. Washington State and Oregon State don't believe the outgoing schools, which will be members of the competing league starting next summer, have the right to determine the future of the conference and are concerned the September 13th board meeting may doom the Pac-12's ability to survive past 2024, according to the complaint. The Pac-12 bylaws state that if a school gives notice of withdrawal prior to August 1st, 2024, then its representative to the Pac-12 Board of Directors shall automatically cease to be a member of the Pac-12 Board of Directors and shall cease to have the right to vote on any matter. That's right in the Pac-12. Right in the Pac-12 bylaws. What defines a notice of withdrawal? Washington State and Oregon State believe the public statements by the executives from the outgoing schools and the welcome announcement blasted on social media by their new leagues constitute a legal delivery of notice, thereby rendering their presidents ineligible for the Pac-12 board. The stakes are high. Major strategic and financial issues require supermajority approval, 75%. If the court determines the 10 outgoing schools retain the board of directors status until the departures next summer, they could form a voting bloc that dictates terms to Washington State and Oregon State. The bylaws indicate that all assets be split among the 12 schools if the conference dissolves. The temporary restraining order is designed to maintain the status quo, i.e. no votes by the board, until the court determines which schools have voting rights. Washington State, Oregon State have requested a hearing for Monday and hope a restraining order will be issued before the scheduled board meeting on Wednesday. Earlier this week, Schultz and Murthy sent a letter to Kleikoff and other 10 presidents expressing concerns that the recent correspondence from Commissioner's office creates the misimpression the representatives of all conference members are eligible to serve on the board, participate in board meetings, and vote on the board matters. That is incorrect. Indeed, when USC gave notice of their withdrawal from the conference, June 2022, the conference deemed their representatives ineligible to participate on the board or vote on any conference matters. That fact that 8 more members have now given notice of withdrawal from the conference does not change this rule. The Pac-12 took the same approach to the board membership this summer. After Colorado announced on July 27th it was leaving for the Big 12, Chancellor Phil DiStefano was excluded from subsequent Pac-12 board meetings that occurred before August 4th, when 5 more schools departed according to the complaint. In his statement to the court, Washington State Schultz says 10 outgoing schools are now motivated to dissolve the Pac-12, against which their conferences will otherwise compete beginning next year and distribute its assets. Additionally, the letter from Washington State and Oregon State to the conference sought confirmation that the September 13th board meeting would be canceled. The 10 departing schools have relinquished their voting rights. The presidents of the Washington State and Oregon State are the only duly authorized board members. And finally, Washington State and Oregon State requested a response to their letter by Friday, today at 10 a.m. Soon after the deadline, the legal process began in Whitman County, home to Washington State. Complaints are the legal filings that initiate lawsuits. Holy smokes. I gotta tell you, here at Peek Around the Corner, Washington State and Oregon State have a very strong argument that their 2 presidents should be the only ones that constitute the Pac-12 board. That's it. All the other schools have given their withdrawal notice. There's no question about it. So the only 2 presidents that should dictate the assets and who have voting rights to the conference is Washington State and Oregon State. I don't see how you can see it differently. When UCLA and USC gave their withdrawal of notice, they were not included in any of the Pac-12 board meetings for all these months. Colorado, Phil DiStefano, was not the chancellor. He was not included in the Pac-12 board meetings after Colorado sent their notice of withdrawal on July 27th. The precedent has been set. And for Kleikoff to try to set up a board meeting on September 13th to figure out the structure and how to divvy up the assets, I understand Washington State and Oregon State saying, that ain't flying. This restraining order, this going to the courts here, Washington State and Oregon State, I believe very strongly that they have a big time case now. Can Oregon State and Washington State, can they do a reverse merger? Can they get the Mountain West schools on board to the Pac-12 and grab all those millions of dollars of assets? All those millions of dollars that have been poured in to creation of the Pac-12 network. Can they keep the brand name, the Pac-12? Before, I didn't give it much of a chance. And maybe there still is a long shot for this to happen. But I give it a better chance today than any other day before. Washington State, Oregon State taking legal action against the Pac-12 over the assets and over the voting rights. And they have a very strong case for both. Most importantly, Washington State and Oregon State have a very strong case in regards to the voting rights. Who determines who is members of the Pac-12 board right today? In my eyes, in the PATC eyes, there are only 2 members. Only 2. The other 10 are disqualified for serving on the board according to the Pac-12's own bylaws. Again, put down your comments and thoughts in the comments section below the video. Let me know how I got it all wrong. Once again, we're going to continue to follow this story here at Peek Around the Corner. Holy smokes. Until next time, from all of us at PATC to all of you, please, you all take great care of each other. Thank you so very much.